In the previous episode, I shared my experience of exploring Versailles. So, on the same day, for the second half, we wanted to go to Hôtel des Invalides and Pont Alexandre. French people, I'm very sorry again about my bad pronunciation. I'm trying. If you can recall from the previous episode, the metro station we got out of to go to des Invalides was a very pretty one. And right opposite the station was this restaurant called La Source, and Santosh, my husband, was super excited to go there for lunch because apparently La Source is a hairpin in the Belgian Grand Prix circuit in Formula One. So that was the reason we chose the restaurant and we had lunch there. After lunch, nearby we saw a few luxury cars parked, and Santosh was going crazy because he's a car nerd, and we were discussing how a few $1 million were standing right in front of us in just one street corner. So a lot of people were excited to see these cars. They were making pictures and videos of the cars. So did Santosh. And then we decided it was time to go to Des Invalides. The first thing of Des Invalides that we saw was the pinnacle of the dome, and because we were walking, it was a very nice dramatic slow reveal. Even before we entered, we just stood outside to take the view in, to let it sort of sink in. What we were looking forward to the most was the glorious gilded dome, which just looked so pretty in person, and it's one of the most easily recognizable landmarks in Paris. Hôtel des Invalides translates into English as House of Invalids. It's a complex of buildings which now houses monuments and museums related to the military history of France. Originally, it was built as a hospital and retirement home for war veterans. This entrance you're seeing here in this picture is the former Royal Chapel, and this is known to be the tallest church building in Paris. This is where some of the most notable military figures of France rest. This is where Napoleon Bonaparte rests, and some of his family members as well. In fact, the tomb or the sarcophagus of Napoleon is right below the cupola of the dome. Louis XIV, whom I mentioned in the previous episode as well, started this project. The dome of Des Invalides is a stunning example of the French Baroque architecture. The interior of the dome has a glorious Baroque illusionistic ceiling painting by an artist called Charles de la Fosse. The floor has polychrome marble patterns. Napoleon II, the son of Napoleon Bonaparte, also rests here, although they say his heart and his intestines remained in Vienna. Popa rests here, as in it's a cenotaph. Jerome Bonaparte, who is Napoleon's youngest brother, rests here. However, Santosh and I found this next tomb to be the most striking one. It belongs to Ferdinand Foch. The tomb is designed in such a way that a few men in uniform are carrying it. Above this beautiful poignant tomb is one of the four smaller side cupolas, and all of these cupolas are beautifully painted by various artists. Coming back to the main tomb of Napoleon, which rests in the center of this Invalides, we were mesmerized by the tall, grand, beautiful 12 marble victories surrounding the sarcophagus. Some of these 12 marble statues had wreaths in their hand which were exquisitely carved. Then it was, of course, time for some souvenirs. There were pretty things, postcards, magnets, and some statuettes and so on. Since we were running late, we decided to keep the Army Museum for the next time and went straight ahead to the Court of Honor. So much space silently contained by geometrically perfect four sides of the building. We saw how the attic windows were so beautifully framed by sculpted patterns. And then we headed out to see the northern portal of the complex, and it's gorgeous. It has Louis XIV on a horse on the pediment. This northern frontage of Des Invalides overlooks the esplanade, and as they're meant for, we did take a nice walk for pleasure. By this time we were super tired because we had woken up at 5 and we had been standing and walking throughout the day. But we were also excited because from this Invalides, we were to head to Pont Alexandre. This iconic bridge was built in alignment with this Invalides. But before we head to the bridge, I want to talk about a couple of other things we witnessed. So there is this wide street that leads to the bridge from this Invalides, and on both sides you can see lush green lawns. By this time of the evening, when the light and the weather were pleasant, we saw a lot of students, children playing on these lawns. We saw a lot of people on their evening jogs, evening runs. We saw a lot of couples, lovers lying on the lawn, groups of friends chatting away. It was so nice to see people in Paris having these beautiful places to themselves where they don't have to spend money to just sit and relax, not bothered by traffic. Places from where you can see these beautiful historical monuments and buildings and everything pretty. And then we reached this beautiful bridge, which no wonder is a part of a lot of iconic TV shows and movies like the Bond films, Fantastic Beasts, Midnight in Paris, and so on. Since the entire day was a lot about consuming a lot of information related to art and architecture, we decided we would just loiter around here and relax, mentally at least. This is a drop-dead, gorgeous, ornate bridge. It spans the Seine, the river. It has these exquisite lamps on both sides. There are these smiling cherubs, beautiful nymphs and winged horses on either end. The bridge commemorates Franco-Russian Alliance. On its right bank are the Grand Palais and Petit Palais. The latter had a show going on and it was beautifully lit in blue lights. So I spent a lot of time there while Santosh was making pictures of the bridge. And to watch the show that was going on there, all these beautifully, smartly dressed people were getting out of their cars and entering the building. It was quite a sight. So the architects of this bridge were known to have been given a big constraint. They were to keep the bridge from obscuring the views of des Invalides on one side and Champs-Élysées on the other. So see what even a constraint can do. The pillars on either end are massive masonry sockles giving stabilizing counterweight for the arch, and on these pillars are these gilded fanes. The nymphs on the other hand belong to the Neva relief. Again, this bridge is built in remembrance of the Franco-Russian Alliance. The Russian architectural counterpart of this bridge is called the Trinity Bridge, and it's in St. Petersburg. Now that's another city I've been dreaming of to see for a very long time because of my heart, Dostoevsky and Nabokov, and of course the great Hermitage Museum, perhaps during a better time sometime in the future. And now it was twilight and the sky was now a soft blue. Lights came on and in a few minutes the Eiffel Tower came alive differently because it was lit up. Again, I'm not a big fan of the tower itself. It's amazing what it does to the city's landscape though, and it's always super fun to behold the tower from afar, from a distance, than be on it, at least to me personally. And on the other hand, all these cruises, some massive ones and some small boats, were going up and down the Seine, and there were some fun parties happening on some of them. This evening especially was utterly dreamy and romantic and so gorgeous. This is why Paris is Paris. It draws, it lures people from all across the world, and come snow, come rain, come spring, come autumn, whatever the season is. And no matter what naysayers have to say, being in Paris, especially as a traveler, is romantic after all. And then what we were waiting for a long time happened. The hourly sparkling of the Eiffel Tower. I think it happens for 5 minutes every hour in the evenings. I mean, it's the Eiffel Tower and it's sparkling. What more could you ask for? So after beholding a lot of art, architecture, and man-made beauty in general, it was time to head back to our hotel. After the metro ride, when we were walking from the station towards our hotel, we realized we were completely drunk on beauty, and that's when we saw something which really sobered us down very nicely. We saw these trees on the streets having some relief, some breathing space. They were not choked with asphalt or concrete. The sobering thought was that it's always great to see or be in a city that's not only beautiful but also thoughtful. So that was a nice thought to go to sleep with. We were super excited for the next day because we were going to spend that entire day in the Louvre. So stay tuned. In the next episode, I'll be talking about our experience in the Louvre. Until then, take care. Have a great time. Bye.